Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm from London in the UK and I work for a small tech startup, although I used to be a teacher and work for charity. So, why am I making some videos about learning languages? Well, it's because I've recently signed up for the Fluent in 3 Months challenge, which is starting in February 2021. Learning languages is something I've loved for a long time, and I've followed Benny Lewis, the founder of Fluent in 3 Months, for about 10 years. But this year being the crazy year that it is, I finally had the chance to get back to something I really love, which is learning languages. So my language story starts when I was a child, and my house was really near an English language college that had students from all over the world. My parents needed childcare, the students needed somewhere to stay, so in a win-win situation, we hosted a series of au pairs from different countries. So there were lots of them, but notably we had Ramona from Germany, Anna from Croatia, Maribel from Spain, and Estelle from France. I was about 6 or 7 when Ramona came, and she actually taught me a little bit of German. And a couple of years later, I started going to an after-school French class. So although I didn't get the chance to study languages formally, I already knew that I really enjoyed them. And I had some of those classic French cassette tapes, and I still remember some of the songs. So when I got to secondary school, I had the chance to take French lessons, which I ended up continuing for 7 years. And I also took 2 years of German. And giving up German is one of my biggest regrets because it's a subject I really enjoyed. I also had the chance at school to take some basic Latin, which was an amazing opportunity, and again, something I really enjoyed. But I wouldn't say that my French lessons at school really prepared me for speaking the language, and I know this is lots of people's experience. So when it came to applying to university, I didn't feel confident enough in my French to apply to study it. So I decided to study classics, which was a subject that combined lots of my interests and still gave me a chance to study languages. And I ended up taking a course called Course 2B at Oxford. So Classics 2B is for people who don't have an A-level in Latin or Greek. And B means that I started with Ancient Greek, which I didn't realise is the crazy person's way round to do it. But in hindsight, I'm so glad I did because I really loved the Greek culture, history, and language. I had to do an intensive summer school before I started university, and then at university I had to do daily language classes at 9 a.m. And yes, I was hungover for some of them. As you probably know, studying ancient languages is a bit different from studying modern languages, mainly because it's mostly done through reading and a little bit of writing if you do composition. But after university, I had the chance to upgrade my ancient Greek to modern Greek, and I really do believe it's an upgrade because it allowed me to participate in the living, breathing culture of modern Greece. I'm going to explain my Greek story in another video, but the short version is that I moved to Greece, lived and worked there for a year, and learned Greek basically through immersion. So while I was in Greece learning Greek, this is when I discovered some of the fantastic online tools and resources that are out there. And if I'd had them when I was studying French as a teenager, it might have made a huge difference to my experience. I discovered Benny's Fluent in 3 Months blog, and I was also really interested in the work of Katsumoto from All Japanese All the Time. I started to use SRS cards, a program called Anki, and I just found loads of different ways to get my Greek up to a good standard really quickly. After that experience in Greece, when I came home to the UK, I dabbled in a few different languages using these methods. And it was mainly focused around travel because I was working and I was really busy. But every time I would book a holiday, I would prepare some of the language before I went. So I dabbled in Dutch, Turkish, Italian, Portuguese, Japanese, and these really enriched my travel experiences, even though I can't speak any of these languages now. But an example would be when I went to Japan, and because I'd learned hiragana, I was able to find an okonomiyaki restaurant just because I could read the sign. So that was a really wonderful addition to my trip. So that brings me to 2020. In 2020, with COVID, I had a bit more time and I picked up my French after 15 years without studying. Now that was mostly motivated by the fact that I had a French boyfriend for some of this year, and now that's over, I feel a bit sad about studying my French. But on the plus side, this year I read 2 great novels in French. I read L'Armée des Ombres by Joseph Kessel, which is a fantastic novel about the French Resistance. And I also read L'Histoire de la Violence by Edouard Louis, which was harrowing, but also great. So I'm really happy to have had the experience of reading in French. And I also did some wonderful conversation classes with a lady called Mathilde on italki, and discovering how to use italki and, meeting conversation partners was a wonderful part of 2020. So with this extra time now, I'm putting a lot more effort into my Greek, which I've kind of kept on the boil for the last 10 years. But over the next 3 months, I really want to improve my fluency before I start a new language with the Fluent in 3 Months challenge in February. I haven't yet decided which language that's going to be. I have a couple of options, but I'm super excited to really get my language learning going. Over the last couple of weeks, I've put about an hour a day of work into Greek, and I'm going to be going into my methods in another video. But yeah, really happy to dive back into language learning and to join the wonderful community here.